Hello, everybody. This is Susan Horvath, a victim of Wettlaufer from negligence in a nursing home called Meadow Park. The Silcox family, victims of negligence from caressing care. Negligence. Not systemic, negligence. And all the other victims as well of murdered parents and seniors due to negligence, not systemic, negligence. Okay, I'm very angry, and I have every right to be angry, because I'm talking to the people right now, I hope, that have a heart and have caring and understanding, not the other people who are just laughing at us, that we are victims and everything like that. Let me fill you guys in with a bit of a story that I think everybody should know what it's like, in this case, to be a murder victim. I'll tell you my story, and maybe the other victims too are going to fire up a YouTube online, and they'll tell you their story too. I think it's worth listening to, okay? And it's an honest story. Here goes my story, okay? Since my father got murdered, and I already knew something was up when I seen his body on the gurney, because I happen to be a type 2 diabetic. Being a type 2 diabetic since I was 16 years old. So I am well aware of the symptoms of this genetic disease. My father was in a diabetic coma. He was lying on the gurney for 3 days. And when everybody was to put on a mask and put some clothing on to protect us from my father, I just looked at the nurse and I thought, why is this happening? He's in a diabetic coma. She said, no, he's got pneumonia and he could have some contagious disease. I thought, okay. I still didn't put on a mask, and I didn't put on any medical outfit, I was told, because that's my father lying there. And I know the disease he had and that I have. And I know he was in a diabetic coma and he was put into that coma because I told my mother that he was put into that coma. And she thought I was really looped. No, I was right. A nurse injected him with a high dose of insulin after he was all drugged up on all the neuropsychotic drugs that nursing homes give seniors. And he died and got murdered. So me, as a daughter of a senior, well, let me think. I guess a normal thing would be to go ahead and sue the nursing homes. What do you think? Caressing care for sure, because that's where the union allowed her to come to Meadow Park by giving her a letter, a recommendation letter. Imagine that, after she's caused so many hurtful murders and so many things in the nursing home over there and killed people. She had a free pass to come to London and kill my father. Isn't that incredible how easy that is? But guess what? Yesterday in the inquiry, when it was ending, our Honorable Judge Gillese worked very hard on the reports and everything in the inquiry. She brought up every kind of point going. The specialists were involved that she hired. All the research that went into it is all in book format, report format. You guys know how many pages we're looking at here. So I'm very pleased that the information is all compact. It's all been studied, case studied, and it's all there. That's awesome. That is really good stuff. Now, yesterday or the day before Wednesday, when we went to the Holiday Inn Express, all these victims, including myself, I'll tell you what we've been going through. So you really get a clear picture, because I doubt very much, unless you've had a murder in your life like this, and that you were aware of it, I guess you really, really, really don't know what we've been through. I'll tell you what we've been through, me especially anyway. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. Not by anything else. Past car crash, a dog dies, I don't know, grocery bill is very expensive. No, we're not going to use excuses. My post-traumatic stress disorder came from my father's murder because I was like you guys. And at the time, I was always iffy about the medical industry, but I was still trusting enough, okay, to use their services. Trusting enough. And when I heard that a registered nurse who went to religious school and Bible school and had two very nice parents, I couldn't believe that nurse would murder my father. Because I was naive and gullible like the rest of us trusting minions out there. So anyway, I went into a shock, which is totally normal. My health has now changed, so bad so, that we can't say, because the lawyers and legal, they've got their wordage, and we can't say that, this could have been caused directly from the murder of your father. Why would they want to say that? Because if we do admit the truth that yes, indeed, my post-traumatic stress disorder, health conditions, weight gain, can't sleep, depression, everything else comes from the murder, well then, guess what? Guess who's on the hook for that? The nursing homes in the lawsuit and the union for letting it happen, basically. So I don't think too many people would want that to happen because then those people would have to pay up. Not me, everybody else who's a victim who's suing. And they're not suing to make millions of dollars to go shopping and everything. No, they're not. Sorry. I don't think I'll be able to operate my business anymore. I haven't been in work for 4.5 years. 4.5 years. And I have watched my dog die through the murder and the media coming in my home and me trying to fight for seniors, fight for my father's rights as a dead man buried in a coffin. I watched his body go up in the air and be exhumed. You don't think that this is traumatic? I was sitting in my car with a blood pressure monitor on my arm, scoring about 200 over 100 or more. I still have high blood pressure from the murder of Wettlaufer, which is not systemic, it's negligence. Negligence. Because the nursing home was negligent in hiring her. Because I met the recruiter in the inquiry who shook my hand. And she said, "I'm sorry for your loss. And Susan, you're doing so much for the seniors. Keep up the good work." And I said, "Who are you?" And she gave me her name. And she said she was the one who recruited Wettlaufer. And I looked at her and I said to her, "I don't want to know you." And I threw her on my court documents as me suing her like you wouldn't believe. Because if it wasn't for her hiring Wettlaufer, even though the union let her giddy up and gallivant to the next nursing home, if this woman decided maybe not to hire her, my dad would still be probably alive. Doesn't matter if you're old and sick. There's medication to help you live. There's family. There's your human survival to stay alive. He didn't want to die and get murdered like an animal. Neither did any of them. All these people's loved family members were treated like shit. They were treated like garbage, like abused, everything. I had nurses when my dad had to be changed. You could smell it that my dad had to be changed. And I had 2 nurses in Meadow Park, not even Wettlaufer. These are more nurses, different ones altogether. And they told me, well, we're going to go check your father's situation. And we'll get back to you if he needs to have a diaper, because they had a diaper in their hands. So they shut the door in front of me, and of course, two nurses together. Well, one is a witness. You know the game. You know the drill, how it goes when there's corruption, and So there's her witness, and the two of them went in there, and she came out and stuck a clean diaper in my face, the one she took in, and said, "Nope, he doesn't need to be changed." Meanwhile, I went in to see my father, and his hands stunk. He had feces under his fingernails. That was what happened to my dad. And yes, I could smell. He had to be cleaned. He had facial hair that wasn't shaved because nobody shaved it for him. Normally, people who look after their family members or another part of the family who was power of attorney, possibly he would have been able to come and shave Dad, because obviously, we had a situation there that was quite unique with the power of attorney, but that's a whole different chapter. So, my father was abused. He had one day where they didn't even feed him. It was in the defense from Meadow Park. They didn't even feed him. Maybe it was a punishment. I'm not sure. Oh, and when Meadow Park wrote in the documents that my dad was kicking and being violent and spitting and everything, well, gee whiz, maybe if we read the medical dictionary and find out, because I knew the pills he was on because I got a hold of information, maybe if we would find out, first of all, that my father had a bit of thyroid issues going on. And guess what? Certain pills, and because you're hypoglycemic, certain pills and medications you cannot take because it can create hysteria. It can create a very bad side effect. Do you realize how many pills these doctors there, who, by the way, are senior retired doctors in nursing homes because they're cheap? I don't know. Maybe they make half the salary as a regular doctor when they were in practice. They gave my father so many psychotropic drugs. You have no idea what I seen. That man, how he was treated. He cried. He was delusional. He was seeing birds. I was sitting in the dining room with him. And some of you can laugh, and I really don't care if you laugh, because that just goes to show how heartless you are. So you shouldn't even watch this YouTube. You should just totally go to another one, because this was my father, okay? And if this was your father who was hallucinating, thinking he's seeing birds, and then he's crying, well, hey, what can I say? This is the kind of treatment for 5 minutes of being with a senior, because guess what? The nursing home didn't want to hire more nurses at nighttime or anything like that because it cost too much money. Meanwhile, these nursing homes are making a profit like you wouldn't believe. Your eyes would roll around. Oh, the stuff I could tell you. So, I had an employee in Meadow Park when I went to get coffee for my father. She told me, you better be with your dad every day or have somebody with him, because when you're not around, that's when they strike. And it's especially at nighttime. Well, wouldn't you know, Judge Gillies had it in her report, the same thing. They strike around nighttime, mostly nurses that do all this kind of stuff. Isn't that something? Anyway, continuing on. So I had my dad get murdered. I'm suing now, obviously, 3 lawsuits. One is the union, one is Meadow Park, and one is Caress and Care. That's my lawsuit. I have other members of the family suing, and they're suing. Other victims are suing. Don't we have a right to sue? Because if anybody is out there saying, oh, this is because of the money, you know what? Shake your head a little bit. Our health has been destroyed with what we've seen and what we went through and what we learned and what we read in the defenses that we had to give back to the lawyers because we weren't allowed to keep those copies. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff from these nursing homes that happened to my father and how they tried to pin him that he was violent and everything and didn't even want to admit the drugs that he was put on that could have caused that. Are you kidding? There's so many people here that need to be held responsible. negligent. But guess what? Since the inquiry ended on Wednesday, the whole province of Ontario was told by our Honorable Judge Gillese that it's a systemic problem and it's not a blame game where we can point fingers. And her job, yes, I understand, was to take all the information and all the data and the research and everything. I understand that. Oh, I do. And put it together in a report, which I commend her for her work and her time. But guess what? She also, because she's a strong woman in her career, and she's a judge, and balances have to happen in every industry, every job, but the law, the government, the law, I thought should be honest. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. And I would have thought for sure that Judge Gillese would say that yes, indeed, the coroners had a responsibility here, the pharmacists had a responsibility here, the employees weren't doing their jobs, the forms weren't even filled out correctly if you watch the inquiry online from the nursing home. The management in the nursing home, they weren't even managers. I don't know what they were. All I heard was in the inquiry, I don't know, we didn't see it, I don't know. And then when the lawyer, Liz Hewitt, went to Crescent Care, I think it was, to get documentations that were really vital to this investigation and inquiry, they were locked up downstairs in the nursing home, and they didn't want to unlock the information. Did you know that? Oh, hey, a lot of nice stories going on here. But you know what? I'm here on the YouTube to say this much as a victim, okay? A victim for other victims, too, that are totally pissed and mad. But they're too afraid to talk. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. But I know one thing. Let's forget the word systemic. We all know in Ontario the medical system systemically has been trashed forever. We have a bad medical system, very bad. We all know it. The nurses that are caring for people and patients and do love their job from the heart, and doctors, all those hardworking, for real, honest, good, safe nurses, we all know that it's systemic. It always was. This is nothing new. But what hurts the victims now, where we have to turn around and try to turn this ship around, is that no, Judge Gillese, as much as I respect you, and I really do, and we really like you as a person, you know that, we would have thought possibly that there would be a little bit more strength in the inquiry report, instead of saying that there is nobody really to blame because we have a lot of work to do. A couple of words that really bothered us victims, because I know that you're well aware, and everybody is, that we are in lawsuits. And when lawsuits don't have people to blame, or you take an expensive inquiry like this where the judge made probably very good money on it. The lawyers definitely made good on it. But us victims, we have nothing, not even a postage stamp out of the whole deal. Nothing. We have one victim here now who has to pay the lawyer because nothing's coming out of her situation. We have this inquiry report now that technically has, in some sense, we still have quite a leg to stand on, mind you, but in some sense of the word, has screwed us up. Because now, if any of these intelligent lawyers that are representing us real murder victims decide to lean up on the inquiry report only, then basically, guess what? we don't have anyone to sue, do we? Because nobody is held accountable. So us victims, after everything we're gone through, after all the suffering, after more suffering and more, where we think we're going to end up in the grave as well because of the stress, now we don't know what to do other than have you people, and I pray you people are out there, Ontario residents, because I have news. We all need your support. We really do. Do not be afraid to speak up. We've already had a nurse from Caressing Care, thank God, Wednesday, who spoke up. She's already admitting that retirement homes, some people there are already unregistered and injecting insulin into seniors. Imagine that, like patients, like seniors in a retirement home. Oh yeah, nothing is going to change here. We have an inquiry now, conclusion that says, well, Judge Gillese said, there is no quick fixes in a systemic situation. That we understand. Why don't we look at the negligence going on? The people who weren't doing their jobs, and they know who they are. Oh yeah, a lot of them even quit when the lawsuit started up. I've already heard of a whole bunch of people quit in Caressing Care and in Meadow Park. They already know who's guilty, and they're guilty, and a lot of them didn't do their jobs, and you know what I'm talking about, and you know who you are. So guess what? All of those people get diminished, and there's just no responsibility because it's systemic? Wettlaufer sitting in jail for murder. What do you call that? Murder? Oh, and also negligence. Under a union is negligent. Under the nursing homes, negligent. Come on, guys, wake up. We understand it's systemic. So we need many people's support. Ontario residents, you guys aren't eliminated from the situation. Seniors and people going into nursing homes, nothing is going to happen. Now the government said, well, within 1 year you'll get a report of all the changes. You know what? Let's be honest. I'm an honest person, which could get me in trouble, and I might disappear off the face of the earth because probably a lot of people in government don't even want me to talk anymore because I'm too honest. Maybe I shouldn't be honest. I don't know. But I know I loved my dad, and I miss my father very much. And I wish he was here, and he didn't deserve to be murdered by a union nurse. A nurse who is employed by a nursing home private owners. Come on. Have a little tiny bit of heart. It's not like the lawsuits are going to take all the money away from the government or the nursing homes. They're making a profit left and right. And also, guess what? A lot of people don't know what we would have done with what money we are going to get. Okay? I had my plan, and I still do, of helping out seniors. Because guess what? If the government and the system is not going to help out seniors, then I guess I will, along with other people that are starting to take control themselves and going into nursing homes and just scouting it out. Oh yeah. Don't think everybody's just going to sit back because all of a sudden we're told that nobody is to blame. Many people are here to blame. Many people should be held accountable. And the lawyers and the media who's watching and the government who could be watching, you guys know that. You're thinking it, but nobody seems to want to come say it. Well, I'm saying it right now. And I spoke to victims today. One victim is already ahead of the whole game, already hitting radio stations. I'm going to try my best. The other victim has already got a couple calls going out. And guess what? A lot of the Ontario residents, okay, can see this too. We're all not stupid. And a lot of them are stepping up to the plate. And as I said, if you go onto the television news reports online, you will see, okay, where Mr. Ziegler, he is the gentleman that was also in the front committee with the glasses, he was the one that was listening to us, listening to media questions, what have you, keeping it short and sweet. And then we had a man stand up out of nowhere man's land at the back. And he said, all of you people should be punished for what happened here and be accountable. And everybody kind of looked at him like, he's not agreeing with what we're being told to do, and he's not swallowing what we're being told to swallow. No, he's not, because he was right. He was right. A lot of people are accountable here, okay? And guess what? I don't think the victims are going to back down unless we get taken down, really, because this is our family, and I think it's about time that the government should look at this serious. These are human beings. Why is this happening? Are we being laughed at? Obviously, we're being laughed at. We're like a big joke. Okay, my dad's death, who cares? He was an old 75-year-old man. It was time for him to go. Me? Oh, there's his crazy daughter on the YouTube, trying to talk to people. No, none of this is wrong. What's wrong is how the inquiry report came out that nobody should be blamed. Well, I got news for you. There's going to be so much controversy from this and so much opposition. We already had a lawyer, okay, who was already on a radio show yesterday with me. And she also, very quietly, trying to be politically correct, said that yes, they are surprised regarding the outcome conclusion because it could have been a bit stronger. Well, in other words, what she tried to say was Judge Gillese, knowing full well she didn't want to rock the boat with all her counterparts and the people she works with and her contacts. We understand that, Judge Gillese, very well. You're a very kind person, and you're looking out for the back of the people you work with. We get it. You also care about the victims. We understand that, and that's why you put the book together, and we understand all of that. However, your conclusion to this should have been, and you're well aware of that. I know that because we could tell that you are, but I know you're not allowed to say that possibly in the inquiry. That still doesn't go without saying that there's a lot here that should be held responsible and liable. A lot. We can't all hide under the word systemic. And the government, when they say we'll talk to you in a year and we'll look into that and possibly, and oh my God, do you realize what the victims were feeling yesterday? Again, we walked out after how many years we're fighting for our loved ones. We haven't received a cent, 1 penny, but everybody else has made money off of the death of my father in this inquiry, on the death of everybody else. Money has been made, really has. And the victims, well, hey, we look like we're pawns. And what? Who's the hero here? Is the government the hero now? Who's the hero? I'll tell you who the heroes are, the victims, because we're still trying very hard to fight for our loved one who got murdered for no reason at all. So you know what? That's all I'm going to say. We have been screwed over. That's how we feel it. There's really no other words for this. And you know what? I'm not the only one. And all I can say is we don't know where we're going to go from here. Because a lot of people here are stressed out. The victims were not well, which is no excuse, of course, to read the newspaper one day and because we're not well, we got sick and died. I don't think so. We are fighting for our family and our loved ones. Don't we have a right to do that? Are we not allowed? Are we supposed to sit back and just accept everything and everything's fine and smile and all that? Is that what we're supposed to do? Tell me, how are we supposed to act in this situation? Nobody knows. We need your help. All the Ontario residents who are watching this YouTube, please come forward. Say something. Write to the editor in newspapers. Now, mind you, we have to take into account something, and it's very important for all of us to know that we do have government-controlled facilities. Newspapers could be government-controlled. Certain media can be government-controlled. We have to watch out for that because we know, and everybody knows, that the government doesn't want us to lose faith. They made that very clear, the minister, on Wednesday. People are losing faith and hope in everything they hear anymore with the politicians. Anything. Anything. We don't care because it's all lies, because it never happens, because it's for promise. How many times have we seen, I'm going to promise you this, that, and the other? Really? People are getting tired of it. But the good thing is there's more people than government. So that is one good thing I mathematically figured out in my mind on the calculator. I wasn't aware. I know that I do believe, and I'm not certain, that the population of Ontario is more than the population in the government. So I do know that much. And I know that we all pay the government for help and taxes and everything. I do know that as well. So technically, we as people, minions, the working poor, the people who are ill from what's going on, me, everybody who's victim, we pretty much are very powerful people, actually. We just don't know it because we're always put into fear and not to say anything and not to say anything. Well, I guess if you care about your life and you don't want to be murdered as you become older in a hospital or in a nursing home or in a retirement home, anywhere where there's drugs, okay, I would highly, highly suggest that this would be a good time to speak up because we have to fix a framework here, a structure for our future in nursing homes and hospitals, okay, so that we don't continue slipping away, getting the wrong drug. In the report, you can read how all these medical murders operate. Hospitals, huge. Retirement home, huge. Anywhere where there's drugs, they put it in your PIC line. I found out that from the inquiries reporting and information, found out you could have water on your lungs. Heparin is another great killer. It's a blood thinner. Insulin, the best going to kill very fast. There's so many ways, my God, so many ways. Our life is worth nothing. It can be simply taken from us by people who get off on it, people who are having work stress, people who don't like their job. They're there because they're in a union and they're getting a paycheck. This is really scary. Aren't you scared? And this is real. Here in Ontario, in your lovely town, in the city of Toronto, it's everywhere. Do you know how easy it is? I mean, even on the Charles Adler show, there was a nurse that came on and said doctors and nurses, when there's a medical screw-up, which there's many, they hide it. They hide it. Do you honestly think in surgery and everything like that, they're writing everything down, everything? Do you really? I mean, the days of honesty are very much drifting away here in the medical industry, big time, because it's happening. There's just no regulations. There's no screening, no security. And when you get a government official saying nobody's to blame, this is systemic, and it's not a quick fix. What do you say about that? In other words, we're still back to zero where we were. And we wait for a report, what they're changing. Don't worry, I'm sure people hate my guts because I speak the truth. And I know we're supposed to be oppressed and not talk much. And I get it, that I'm sure there's a punishment somewhere down the line because I talk the truth for people. People like us, we don't stick around too long. Something happens to us because we're not supposed to talk. Not supposed to say the truth. You're supposed to nod your head, pay your taxes, and basically trust in what you're being told by doctors, by many professions. You're supposed to be just a listener. Shut up, pay us, and whatever we say, we're right. It's come a time in 2019 and 2020 where the people have to start to speak up. If you're going to shy away and be afraid, well, you might as well dig your grave right now. So all I'm saying is please talk to your media, talk to the editors, talk to media companies that are not controlled. Just And it's so sad I have to make a YouTube like this. Like, wow, doesn't that go to say that if murder victims don't even get a chance at suing the people and companies that killed their loved ones, where are we? Where are we in a corrupt society? Are we in a society where we mean nothing to nobody and it's only the elites and that have a say, that make things happen? My God. Now we're told by the Canada Food Guide that let's change our food diet and let's eat some vegetables now instead. And here's your portions you should eat. Wow. And how old am I? We're still being told what to do and what to say and what we can't say. That is not right. I'm speaking from the heart for the good of people. Judges are people. They have family. I'm speaking about that too. Okay? Lawyers, media, they all have families, seniors, in nursing homes, what have you. You don't think for 1 minute that these medical murderers aren't around there either? They're going to bypass and just go, abuse and are you kidding? Really? We're all having a big problem here, and we all need everybody's help together so that we make a good life for everybody included. That is all I'm doing on this YouTube. I'm not prosecuting people. I'm not putting blame on everybody. I'm not putting blame on anybody. I'm just saying that due to the inquiry's report, that has now totally, negatively affected the victims. So there you go. So we all can continue suffering. Maybe that's what we're here for, to suffer. I don't know. This is my YouTube. This is my personal opinion, plus all the victims I've talked to, plus the Ontario residents who are coming forward because they see what 1 and 1 equals 2. And I really do wish that if certain people within the inquiry would take a look at this inquiry and conclusion and literally, possibly after their year, make it a little bit share is a word for us Ontario residents who pay taxes for these people and for this big, huge government with $1,000,001 salaries and assistance and trips and cars and buildings, while the rest of us working poor are working poor. That's not fair. So that's all I got to say, because I can go on and on. Everybody knows the drill. Everybody knows what's going on. Radio stations are starting to oppose this whole thing. I mean, this is about humanity. It's like, whose side are you on, I guess? Whose side are you on? Anyway, I can't say much more. We're really disappointed. Really disappointed. And a lot of people in Ontario are. It's not me. I'm not the bad guy. No, I'm just voicing my opinion. My opinion.